There is a place in the world where trillions of dollars are literally buried in the ground. A treasure so vast that it surpasses Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Iraq combined. But this country is not a global power. In fact, it is in total collapse. Its currency is worthless. Its people are starving. Its cities are in ruins. Welcome to Venezuela. The country with the largest oil reserves on the planet, and the story of how this black gold became the most coveted prize in modern geopolitics will completely change your view of how power really works in our world. Because this isn't about oil, it's about empires, betrayals, and a silent war for control of Earth's most valuable resource. 303 billion barrels. Let that number sink in for a moment. Venezuela has 303 billion barrels of oil in proven reserves. Saudi Arabia, 267 billion. Canada, 168 billion. The United States, a mere 48 billion. But here's what most people don't know. For decades, this oil was considered practically worthless. Most of it is in the Orinoco oil belt, a region the size of England.
Ow.
But it's not ordinary oil. It's extra heavy oil, dense as molasses, full of impurities. It's impossible to extract with old technologies. It's too expensive to process. It was like having the biggest safe in the world, without the key. But in the early 2000s, everything changed. New refining technologies, better extraction techniques. Suddenly the impossible became possible, and the whole world woke up to a frightening reality. Venezuela wasn't just rich in oil, it was absurdly, incomprehensibly rich. ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, Total, they all rushed to Caracas. Billions in investments, massive deals. Venezuela was about to become the new Saudi Arabia. But there was a man with very different plans. Hugo Chávez was no ordinary politician. He was a charismatic, controversial, and above all, audacious former military officer. When he took office in 1999, he looked at that ocean of oil beneath his feet and saw more than money. He saw an empire. His strategy was brilliant, using oil as a geopolitical weapon. Cuba received 100,000 barrels a day, almost for free. Caribbean countries obtained generous financing through Petrocarib. Venezuela financed projects in dozens of countries. And for a glorious time, it worked perfectly. In 2008, Venezuela was producing 3 million barrels a day. Prices hit $147 a barrel. Money flowed freely. Chávez built houses, hospitals, schools. He was the king of oil. But then he made the decision that would change everything. In Arlene Chávez nationalized the industry. He forced giants like ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips to accept minority control or leave. They refused, and they were expropriated. Billions in investment evaporated overnight. Technical experts left. Professional management was replaced by political loyalty. The most sophisticated machine in Latin America has begun to rust. But at that moment, with oil at $100 a barrel, nobody cared until the music stopped. Arlene Hugo Chávez dies, Nicolas Maduro takes over, and within months, everything falls apart. First, oil prices collapse from $100 to less than $30 in 2 years. The revenue that sustained the entire Chavista model evaporates. But the real problem was invisible. Years of corruption, mismanagement, and lack of maintenance had destroyed PDVSA from within. Refineries explode. Equipment shuts down. Thousands of skilled workers flee the country. Some wells are simply abandoned because they are inoperable. Production plummets from 3 million barrels per day to 500,000. Read that again. The country with the largest oil reserves in the world is producing less than Colombia. And here comes the cruel irony. Venezuelans are queuing for days to get gasoline. In the country with the most oil on the planet, but the real blow was yet to come. 2019, the United States imposes the most severe sanctions in history against PDVSA. Suddenly, Venezuela can no longer sell to its biggest customer. Banks refuse transactions. Insurance companies flee. International companies are prohibited from doing business. The world's greatest financial prize had become untouchable. Trillions of dollars buried in the ground. And nobody could get them out. Or at least, that's what it officially seemed like. Because here's the truth. Nobody tells you. The oil never stopped flowing. Welcome to the world of shadow oil. Oil tankers turn off their tracking systems. They become ghosts in the ocean. They sail into international waters and encounter other ships, and operations that last for hours. They transfer millions of liters of oil from ship to ship in the middle of the ocean, far from any surveillance. The oil that leaves Venezuela arrives in China as if it came from Malaysia. The paperwork is perfect. The origins erased. Even at the height of the sanctions, Venezuela exported between 500,000 and 800,000 barrels per day through these shadowy routes. Tens of millions of dollars a month in untraceable money. And who's behind it? China, Russia, Iran. Countries that have turned circumventing American sanctions into an art form, but the game goes far beyond clandestine operations. China has loaned Venezuela more than $60 billion since 2005, but these weren't normal loans. They were oil foro loans. Venezuela receives money today, pays it back in barrels tomorrow. For China, it's the perfect move. Guaranteed long-term energy, massive influence. And when Maduro eventually falls, they'll be there as the biggest creditors. Russia? They were even bolder. They sent military equipment, intelligence advisors, and in 2020, when Venezuela was desperate, Rosneft accepted payment in something very special: direct stakes in oil fields. Russia's no longer just a trading partner. It is the de facto owner of a portion of Venezuelan oil. Cuba, Iran, Turkey, Syria, all part of an alternative network. A parallel economy operating in the shadows of the global system and the United States, watching, frustrated, while its rivals divide the world's largest energy prize right under its nose. Now you might be thinking, fascinating, but what does this have to do with me? All. When 2.5 million barrels a day disappear from the global market, prices go up. And when prices go up, you pay more. For gasoline, for transportation, for the products you buy. Studies estimate that the Venezuelan crisis added between $5 and $10 to the price of oil at certain times. Multiplied globally. That's trillions of dollars coming out of the pockets of ordinary people. But it goes beyond that. Venezuelan heavy oil is ideal for asphalt, industrial oils, and petrochemical products. Refineries in the U.S. were built specifically to process it. When the supply stopped, costs skyrocketed, affecting everything from the asphalt on the streets to the plastic packaging of your food. And there's something even bigger happening. The world is dividing, not just politically, but energetically. A Western bloc. A bloc led by China and Russia. To parallel energy markets, Venezuela is the perfect example. And a warning, but what about the energy transition, you ask? Soon we won't need oil. The reality. We will still be consuming massive amounts of oil until at least 2050. And during this transition, every barrel counts. Having 303 billion barrels of oil tied up means extracting it from other places, sometimes worse places. With worse governments, with worse environmental standards, Venezuelan oil is not in a vacuum. It's connected to the price you pay for everything. To the stability of the global system. To the future of energy. So what does the future hold? Scenario 1. Regime change, sanctions lifted, oil flows again, America regains influence. China and Russia lose ground. Scenario 2. Permanent status quo. Maduro remains in power. Oil continues to flow behind the scenes. Venezuela becomes permanently part of the Sino-Russian bloc. Scenario 3. Total collapse, fragmentation, external intervention. Oil becomes a literal battlefield. The truth? We'll probably see elements of all three. Because when you have trillions of dollars buried in the ground, nobody just gives up. Venezuela teaches us the most brutal lesson about power in the 21st century. Natural resources are not just wealth. They are weapons. They are battlefields. Are the prize for which empires fight, not with tanks and soldiers, but with sanctions, loans, and shadow operations. And while you watch this video, while you live your life, this silent war continues. For every drop of those 303 billion barrels. Because in the end, the world's biggest financial prize isn't just changing Venezuela. It's shaping the future of us all. If this story impacted you, leave a like. Share it so that more people understand what is really happening behind the scenes of global geopolitics. And tell me in the comments, do you think Venezuela will regain control of its oil? Or is this treasure lost forever in the hands of foreign powers? Subscribe for more in-depth analysis of the power games that shape our world. Because the truth, it's always more fascinating than any fiction.